So right from the very beginning, I introduced externalities by saying that if a market has an externality and is left unregulated, it will lead to a less than optimal outcome. Whether that is a positive or a negative externality, there needs to be some kind of intervention in the market to make it optimal. And that's really odd to hear an economist say. It's one of the very, very few times in economics where economists openly admit that markets need to be regulated. And so here in this video, I'm going to start talking about some of the possible ways that we regulate markets and the kind of proposed solutions to externalities. So the first one is that economists are big believers in the legal system exactly for this reason, because the legal system helps to prevent and then helps to resolve externalities. And there are two big ways that it does this. First, by laws that it has passed. So laws that it has passed. And of course, this is part of the function of government also, is to pass the laws, but then the legal system upholds it. So there are two in particular that I want to talk about here. The first one is smoking laws. And so smoking laws have been passed not because, not to prevent the smoker from the smoke that he wants to inhale or she wants to inhale, but to prevent the externality of secondhand smoke from affecting other people. So that's why it's illegal to smoke in a public place but not illegal to smoke in your home, is that in your home you should be able to work out with your family whether or not they want to inhale your secondhand smoke. And if they don't, you can just go smoke outside. But in a public place, you can't really work that out. And if you can smoke in a public place, you're going to impose an externality on everyone else in that public place. So rather than let you impose that externality, we just decided to ban smoking in all public areas and just get rid of that externality altogether by making it illegal. So the other law that I want to talk about are zoning laws. And zoning laws exist to end the problem of that skyscraper popping up in front of your house. So if you have a house with a beautiful view, you want to keep that view. You don't want to have someone else impose the cost on you of destroying your view. And so we have zoning laws where we zone an area as 1 or 2 story residential, and then we don't have a problem of a skyscraper popping up in front of houses. We go put all the skyscrapers in downtown and let them kind of ruin their own views. So zoning laws and anti-smoking laws in public places are both great examples of laws that have been created to prevent or to destroy or eliminate externalities. And then the second way that the legal system kind of helps resolve externalities is by lawsuits. And so here, the example that comes to mind is if we have a power plant and that is billowing smoke all over a residential neighborhood and making the smoke so thick that no one can breathe. So that's obviously an externality on all the people living in that neighborhood. And what they could do is they could file a class action lawsuit against the power plant, either to force the power plant to pay for them to move or to shut the power plant down. And there's a whole branch of economics called legal economics or law and economics that looks at what is the efficient outcome in a situation like that. And it all has to do with internalizing this externality. So lawsuits are another way that people can work out externalities. And so I want to go ahead and skip government provision and go down to the Coase Theorem, because that's also talking about lawsuits. So what the Coase Theorem says, and it's named after a guy named Ronald Coase, is it says that if one, property rights are well defined, so if property rights exist, and 2, people are rational, so I'm just going to write rational, and then 3, that transaction costs are low, that people can work out externalities on their own, that there's no need for intervention. As long as property rights exist, people are rational, and transaction costs are low. And the way that they would work it out is exactly through a lawsuit, or a legal bargain, basically. So let's go talk about that power plant example again. We would say that there's no reason that all those people can't go ahead and sue the power plant and that our legal system can't work that out. And the reason is that the property rights are well defined. We know that the people have the right to clean air by their house. That's part of the property rights that they purchased when they purchased their house. And second, there's no reason to assume that in this situation these people are acting irrationally. It seems pretty clear that they are acting rationally. So the people are rational, and then our legal system, if it's efficient enough, if the transaction costs are low enough, the lawyer fees aren't too high, it doesn't take too long to go to court, then it would be worth their time to go ahead and sue the power plant. But on the other hand, imagine that it cost, a couple $1,000,000 to have a lawyer to sue this power plant. And then on top of that it took 5 to 10 years. Then it probably would be impossible to work out a bargain because all of those homeowners wouldn't be able to raise enough money for the lawyer to go ahead and sue the power plant. So Coase just said if these three things are true, property rights are well defined, people are rational, and transaction costs are low, that there is no need for any kind of intervention. We can just let everyone bargain it out on their own with a Coase bargain. So that's all that I want to say about the Coase theorem. You could talk for a month about the Coase theorem, and it's a really, really incredible idea. But I just want to introduce it and make sure that you recognize it and know kind of what it stands for. So then lastly, one way that we can deal with externalities is just to have the government provide whatever it is that we're talking about. And this is normally in the case of something that has a positive externality. So here what I always think of is national defense. National defense. So national defense obviously has a ton of positive externalities. It's if one person provides defense for an entire nation, or one body provides defense for the entire nation, then that benefit accrues to every single person in the nation. There's a ton of benefits. So it makes no sense for every single person to try and defend their own property. It makes a lot more sense to defend the entire nation's property and to have an army and a police force, and then to just let that positive externality spill over to everyone else, and then no one has to worry about carrying a gun and protecting their own property and their own defense from attacks from any other nation. So that's something that it makes complete sense for a government to provide. And there's really no other way that we could imagine providing for national defense. Having every single person coordinated on their own, just defending their own property, really doesn't do any good. And so the last way that I want to mention, or I want to discuss solving an externality, is with a Pigouvian tax or a Pigouvian subsidy. And since I've already rambled for quite a while in this video, I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and then we'll pick up in the next video and start on these guys.